Welcome everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is the MSV podcast. Here we talk about crypto. My name is Sabi, I am your host today. Let's start. Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the MSV podcast. Today we will talk about the future of transactions on the blockchain. Please welcome my guest today, Aniket from Biconomy. Hi Aniket, thank you for being here. How are you?
Hello everyone. Thanks a lot for having me. Really excited to be here.
My pleasure. Could you give us a brief background about yourself and about the team?
Yeah, definitely. I'll do that. So my history into crypto kind of goes a bit longer. Like I started in 2016 when I kind of took like a bold decision to move to China. I was there, like Bitcoin meetup, and it was organized by like Chinese crypto OGs, Sunny Lu, Bobby Lee, etc., Da Hongfei, like most of the people might be knowing them from creators of Neo, VeChain, etc. At that point of time, it never made sense to me. Like I was like, okay, maybe this is something like new thing coming in the world. Like let's focus on studies and all. But eventually, at the same time, demonetization happened in India. For those who don't know about demonetization, Indian government banned currency notes back in 2016, and that was sort of a triggering point for me in the space. I was like, how can any government do that? What is like the freedom of money like we are having if something like this happens like every other day or something. And since then it's been a sort of a rabbit hole. I ended up working for Binance. I was one of the first employees there, like when it was a team of like 20-30 people. This is back in 17 in Chinese office. Sorry, and 6 to 8 months I spent over there, learned how to scale a team, learned more about crypto, made some connections, and moved to India in 2018. And 2018 like was sort of a tipping point of the bull market because a lot of people actually lost a lot of money after the crash happened, and there were like many negative sentiments in the industry about crypto regarding the future and all. But for me, it was very clear that I see myself in crypto for the next at least 10, 20 years, like till the time it exists. So that's how I started like getting involved in the Indian ecosystem, started working on different projects on a personal capacity, helping them, and eventually started Biconomy.
How big is the team at this moment?
Yeah, it's a team of 37 people right now. We are based out of 9 different countries.
Very nice, very nice. Now, before we go into the transactions, I have a question regarding the market. How do you see the 2018, let's say, entering the bear market sentiment with the communities versus right now? Because we just entered, we can say that around May we entered the bear market. I think it's no denying in that. So do you see a difference? Do you see the sentiment is better, worse? How do you experience it from your perspective?
Yeah, I think 2018 was a very different time. I mean, in terms of prices and the crash happening, a lot of people might be thinking it's kind of similar, but I see like 2018 was like a time where it was a survival issue for crypto. Like a lot of people were against that. That we have this experiment, that whether this experiment gonna work or not, no one was aware about. Like at that point of time, we never had any applications. We had just bare bone white papers, and we were betting on that. This is an experiment. This will change. The feature of some of the applications and features of how we consume, content as well. But that was just like an assumption that this might happen. Whereas right now, it's an experiment that I'll say it's somewhat in the beta stage. We have some applications, we have users using these applications regularly. Of course, a lot of these applications are not the best applications. It needs like a lot of fixes and there's a lot of bugs. So this is, I kind of say it is a bug fixing sort of a period, bear market, where we know like something will work, but we have to fix it. And we have to make sure that this thing actually works. So that's how I differentiate the two bear market. At the same time, if you look at the optics level, like there's a lot of money right now in the market. VCs are more engaged in sort of actively investing. That was not the case back in 18. Like VCs were kind of shying away from actually like investing in backing crypto projects. There's a lot of large institutions involved right now. That wasn't the case back in 2018. So a lot of difference, but on the outside level, people might think that okay, price level is the same thing happening, but internally it's totally different.
Okay, so you think that we are still in the early adoption phase?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it, like when I see like my mom started using application, that is where I see like, okay, we have actually gotten the right product market fit. Till then there'll be like a lot of bugs and fixes to make sure that people are consuming and using these applications. And we get to a place where people start using the applications without even uh, thinking that it's a blockchain application. Like right now we use this Web2 application. We never say that it's a Web2 application or it's a internet application or something like that. We just use an application. So that is where I see, like, once we reach there where people start using it on a daily basis without thinking that, okay, this is like Web3 application where they have to create MetaMask and all this kind of stuff. That is where, we actually achieve the right PMF.
Okay, let's talk about the transactions, because your company or your project wants to improve transactions and wants to make it more simple. Can you tell us what is the problem with the transaction right now and what needs to be improved? Just short, because we will return to this.
Yeah. Surely. I mean, it's more on the UX front. Like when I say transactions, of course, there's like a lot of problems involved when anyone does a transaction. But our thought process was majorly around how we can solve the UX, like how we can make sure that people can have one-click transactions. Like if you use any, Apple Pay or something, everything just happens through a click, right? You're able to do the transaction. That sort of experience we wanted to do in crypto. And that is what we've been solving for the last couple of years. We started off with the basic problem of gas. Like people probably must have experienced that the huge in burning costs whenever they use an applications. We felt that this shouldn't be there for every user, because else, like, we won't see mass adoption happening. But we will go deeper into it, as we return to it.
Okay, so your project is focusing on making transaction on the blockchain a bit more simple. That is, I guess, it's to onboard more and more people to use of blockchain more simple, more approachable, and therefore more widespread. I saw that you have 3 products on your website. It's Hyphen, gasless NFTs. And before we go into these products, I saw that you are on Ethereum and Polygon. And now we can enter, I think, in Hypeless, because that is the bridging between these 2 chains with one click. Can you tell us more about this, how it works, and then we will go to the gasless part?
Oh yeah. So actually, all this sort of products are, it kind of got built by listening to the customer feedback. And the pain points as we were working with more and more developers, that what the users are facing and how we can solve for them. Because we want, like, developers to focus only on the end products, not just focusing on building all this infra level tools, like picks and shovels that we call usually. That is something we solve for. So by the way, like, we are live on Hyphen is live on 6 different chains now. Like, it's Ethereum, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, BSC, Avalanche. So the main pain point was that, like, as we were doing integrations with different applications, developers said that, okay, you have made the UX seamless, like, once people start using the application, they don't have to pay gas and all this kind of stuff. But how do you get users? Getting users from one chain to another, it takes like forever. This is, I'm talking, when we started this back in times, when there were no bridges at all. Now we see like multiple bridges out in the market. But when we started, there were like native Polygon bridge, that used to take like 45 minutes, and exit used to take like a day or 2. And we were like, and applications were like, with this experience, users get turned off, like it's like people come to the application, they see like they don't have, let's say USDC in their wallet, and they have to move from Polygon to Ethereum to Polygon. This step is very cumbersome, and they feel like, okay, let's not use the application. There were like many drop-off rates. So this is what we solve with Hyphen. Hyphen is one of the cheapest and the fastest bridges out in the market. What we aim for is that people are able to move assets from one chain to another instantly. And we make sure that, we do it at the cheapest cost possible. So that was a major pain point that we addressed, that how we can move assets from one chain to another instantly. And, it becomes like part of the DApp experience itself. So that's something what we are working with Hyphen.
So does that mean that, for example, if I have, I don't know, USDC in my wallet on the Ethereum chain, that I can use your application to, I don't know, transfer it to another chain?
Yeah. So you don't even have to, come to an application. Like, we are building SDKs that any application can integrate. So you can move your asset within that application itself. So you move from ETH to Polygon or Polygon to it back and forth with a single click. So that's how we are functioning.
You just mentioned SDKs. I'm not 100% sure that everyone is familiar what an SDK is. Can you tell us briefly?
So SDK is basically like it's called like a software development kit, where we give it to any application out there, and they use it to make part of the development easy. So let's say we have an SDK of this hyphen bridge. Instead of users, let's say you use Decentraland, for example, an application. Instead of you going to a different application and bridging assets, we provide that within Decentraland itself, so that people are able to move assets within that application. So that's what we call by software development kit, and that's how people move assets, and they can do other things. SDKs can be for any other thing, like that we're building. It's basically developer tools.
I also learned that SDKs are also used sometimes to integrate Web2 projects, Web2 companies into the blockchain. And regarding that, if a project is on one blockchain and they want to, transfer or shift or add another blockchain, how complicated is that? Is it something they use SDKs for that? Is there any involvement from your project, for example, or from projects like yours?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say, like, if projects are EVM based, the transition is easy. So let's say if you are on Polygon and you have to move to BSC, Avalanche, etc., the transition doesn't take that much time. But if you have to move to a different ecosystem, let's say you're like based on Avalanche and you have to move to Solana, that is Rust space, then it takes like a lot of effort. It's like rebuilding it, most of the parts. So we are not involved in making applications move to all these assets, all these different chains. But what we are focusing on is, how do you connect all these different chains so that applications don't have to move at all? Like, people move, applications don't move. So and what experience we want to give to users using this application is that in the next few years, we believe that chain's gonna go redundant and people gonna just care about the applications. Like, you shouldn't be using an application because the application is on Solana, or your applications on Avalanche, or applications on Polygon. You should use an application because you like the application. Yeah. Like, that's how it should be. And people shouldn't be aware of, okay, whether it's in Polygon, XYZ, they should just use an application. Backend, everything should become invisible to the users. And that's something what we are working on.
This is very interesting what you just mentioned, because people now using application based on what blockchain they are. And that is also, I think, in what project they are invested in, right? And they said, okay, I believe in Solana, I believe in Aaron, I believe in Ethereum, so on, so on. Just going back a bit to what you said earlier, that sometimes it's easier to move between chains like Avalanche, Ethereum, but some of the chains are built on Ethereum, and there are some new chains which are not Ethereum based. Let's say they are brand new. That is what you meant when you said that it is sometimes easier to transfer, let's say, from one chain to another, and sometimes it's harder. But let's go back to the application based usage and not on the chain. So right now, and I think this also shows that we are in early adopters. Every chain has its fan base, let's say, or the community. People are choosing applications based on what chains are there. And I experienced that as well. I think everyone has. So you say that this needs to be, the chains needs to run in the background, and the users should just use the application without even considering what chains the application is on. And with this cross function, let's say, they can just transfer maybe without them knowing it. Is this something with what we can expect in the future?
Yeah, that's something we're actively working on. So, we envision that few years down the line, people will be, of course, there'll be fan base of, a particular chain, maybe like token becomes like a big part of it. But if you talk of non-crypto audience, like next set of users coming in the space, they would actually want to use an application because they actually love it. We have already seen with StepN, right? StepN was an application on Solana, right? It onboarded close to like few million users, and most of them were first-time users. They weren't even, they didn't even know that it existed on Solana. Like, we interviewed like some of the users or people who were part of early StepN community. They use it because it was StepN. It was not because it was on Solana. So that's how. It's same with XCs as well. Like XC, when they launched, a lot of people started using XC because they love the game, or they had like some financial incentive like while playing the game, but they are not aware of whether which chain the XC is going to be built on, or no, whether it's Ethereum or it's not Ethereum. They just use it because it's a good application. And that's how we see like more and more sort of applications going to be coming and entering the space. Of course, there'll be like very crypto savvy applications as well, like it's like very for crypto savvy users. Those sort of users might think that, okay, it's a chain specific. But when you talk of mass audience, they want to use an application because they love it. Like they don't care about which chain the application is live on.
Yeah, I totally agree. Two things I wanted to mention regarding Stepan. It was very funny because after a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, I was in a park and I saw that there are some runners. Usually people run there, and there was one guy who was running just way too fast, faster than the others. I could see that he's like a first time runner, and I was thinking, I'm sure that he has Stepan because he was also watching his phone all the time. Like after like one circle, he checked his phone and then run again.
There are many stories I've heard, like someone tied the phone to the dogs, and dogs were running, instead of the guy. So there are many stories like that.
I also experimented a couple of things, like riding the bike and shaking your phone and stuff like that, but you can't do it anymore because they are just upgrading the AI system. But that's pretty good. Regarding my second point here, yes, this is what I hear from many projects, to be honest, and I think this is where we are heading. We need to reach, let's say, a state when people are using applications not because it's on crypto, not because it's blockchain, not because whatever, they just want to use the application, whether that be a game, a service like financial service, right? I mean, or there is the VR experiences like Polaroid on Aaron, for example. There is Stepan. Stepan is already multi-chain. I think they are on 3 chains. They just adopted Ethereum, I think. So yes, Stepan is a very, very good example that how people will start to use the application and whatever blockchain that is on. Thanks for this explanation. It's very interesting. Let's go forward because the second product you have is the gasless service, or I don't know how can I call it. Now I read into this gasless, and I think you mentioned at one point that usually people are paying the gas fees at every transaction, and you are trying to revolutionize it. You make some kind of a general payment for some time or for a number of transactions. I couldn't really wrap my head around how this would work. So if you could explain to me, that would be appreciated.
I think it can definitely go a bit complicated, but let me dumb it down and explain like how did we actually get started with gasless. So this is back in 2019 when we had no DeFi, when we had no metaverse, when we had no NFT, when we had nothing. They were like just crypto applications who were trying to get users onboarded. And we chatted with multiple applications and they were like, you know what, A, the UX is not good. And secondly, whenever users come and use the application, there's always like multiple steps involved in order for them to actually get the native currency to pay for the gas fees. Now imagine there are like hundreds of blockchains. So users need to have hundreds of native currencies of different blockchains, to pay the gas to use an application. Now, let me give you a very simple example. Let's say we all know Spotify, we all know YouTube, right? Web2 applications. You don't pay for every song you listen, right? Or you don't pay for every video that you watch on YouTube. Probably like you buy the premium package and then like your ads and all kind of disappear. But in order to use an application, had I told you that just to use an application, you have to pay like, $2, like $1 XYZ, we wouldn't have seen like millions of users using this application. So same concept we kind of apply for Web3 as well, that if I tell you that for everything you have to do an application, you have to pay certain gas fees, like you have to pay certain sort of fees. That is the case right now as well. Like we have to pay like a lot of, like dollars for every transaction that happens in the application. This is good for some small set of crypto savvy users, but mass audience don't want to do that. And we all know that moving forward, the gas fees will become cheaper. We already see it happening on, apps like Avalanche, Solana, etc. Gas fees is pretty cheap. And dApp developers actually want to pay for the gas fees. So how it works is, think of gas as a server cost. It's a server fees that an application needs to bear. And end user doesn't need to pay or bear that cost. There are like endless ways by which an application can monetize from the users coming into the application. But definitely like just to use an application and pay for it shouldn't be the case. And that's how, like we are not able to achieve that mass adoption that we want to achieve. So we felt that this entire mechanism should be revamped. It should be sort of done in a way where people are using applications and they're not very much bothered about, okay, I need to like do KYC on Binance and get Matic and then like, pay for the gas fees. All that part can be eliminated. They can use an application. And this gas fees something, sponsored by the dApps. So we have like 200s of applications using our platform. How it works is dApps are very much in favor of paying the gas fees on the behalf of users, and users are able to use the applications free of cost. So it's not like gasless, but it's like gasless for the end users. Like dApps are paying. And similarly, we already have seen in Web 2 that how this is like a common norm in like Web 2 application. There's like a lot of server costs involved. Like the song that you listen on Spotify, someone is paying for that song, right? It's not free, but it's just not you. Maybe like you buy some premium packages or other services, and that's how you monetize. So that was the entire concept of gasless. That was the entire vision, that how end users can use applications and we can have more adoption happening on all these applications.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I have a couple of points here, if you don't mind. So,
Yeah.
regarding the free YouTube and Spotify, I think when we are not paying with money, we are paying with our time, right? Because we do watch some advertisements. So that is one thing. But yes, you are right. So let's see if I understood this correctly. You mean that the dApps will pay for the gas fees? That is in favor to onboard more people, and people, if they use it, they don't need to pay for the transaction fees. I am sure. Let's see how you see it, but I'm sure that this is only possible because of the new chains, as you said, and the gas fees dropped from Ethereum's $50, $100, and $1,000 to cents.
Yeah.
Regarding Ethereum, now that I mentioned, if you don't mind, what do you think after the merge? Will the gas fees drop, or let's see when it's high season, okay? Because right now Ethereum gas fees are also like fraction of what it was, but now we will have a merge. Ethereum is going to be POS instead of POW and proof of work, and hopefully in 2-3 years we will have another high season when the usage will just jump from couple thousands to hundreds and thousands, millions. How do you see with this merge? Will the gas fees remain as low as they are right now, or maybe there will be a slight increase, or we will go back to what it was like 1 year ago?
So I think it's a very good point you brought in regarding the merge. I feel like, of course, gas fees will go down a bit, but of course, it doesn't contribute to the scaling aspect of things. For scaling, people will still go for roll-ups or other L2s. Whenever there's high season, as you mentioned, gas fees will be more, definitely. And that's why we have scaling solutions. So people will be migrating to different rollups, and over there, like gas fees are extremely cheap. And like Ethereum becomes sort of the data availability there for that. So that's why our solution is more catered towards L2s and all this emerging chains. And we don't have that many customers on Ethereum because it doesn't make sense, because gas fees is super expensive. Yeah. Like no one wants to pick that $20, $30 or XYZ, even like $5, for the end users, because it doesn't make sense. But on Polygon, on Solana, on XYZ chains, like it's like few cents, that is like a good CAC, customer acquisition cost, for any application, and that's how we're seeing like more and more adoption happening of these applications.
Mm-hmm.
When we have seen like DAUs and all these chains are increasing at a crazy space, it's just because all these UX features that they're providing, that is probably like might not be applicable to Ethereum as of now, just because of some infra level problems.
Yes, because Ethereum would need to pay a lot for this application if they want to take off. So I think this is also good motivation for bigger chains which have bigger gas fees. If they see that the projects who take over the gas fees, let's say with this kind of applications, onboard more people, then probably it will motivate them to also reduce the gas fees. Because I think one of the let's just say Ethereum is the first altcoin, is the first application of the blockchain where people can build application, and it is the biggest one, obviously, and many projects, due to security, still choose Ethereum. But after this couple of years, I think many other chains, as you mentioned, Polygon, Avalanche, they also prove themselves. So I'm very curious to see what will happen with Ethereum in the future. I do think that it might lose some share to the market, but hopefully many more institutions, people, retail will come, so everyone just grows. They wouldn't notice this loss of share. It won't be a loss of share. Or how do you see this?
Yeah, definitely. Like with emerging chains, something we have seen that communities play like the biggest aspect in adoption of any chain. So already I'm seeing like people are preferring Solana, Polygon as their native chains instead of like going on Ethereum. Like many applications are natively on Polygon that they don't even want to consider Ethereum. But I do foresee that Ethereum will still become the R&D center. Like most of the innovation will still happen from Ethereum core developers, and then things are gonna be like moving towards all these different chains. Right now, though, like things are changing a bit, still like R&D center is Ethereum. Like, just to like stay in a very layman's term, like all the innovation, DeFi, NFT, it's all very Ethereum centric. We haven't seen that much innovation happening. That might change the next couple of years, as you rightly mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but I don't really expect it in the next 1 or 2 years, to be honest. I was just recently on a recently half a year ago, 6 months ago, on a conference in Hungary, and the government is testing CBDCs. I mean, they are trying to create it for several years now, and they are using Ethereum as a base layer for that. They are using Ethereum's code. So I think for many bigger institutions, Ethereum is the go-to code, because I think it proved itself.
Yeah.
And let's just mention that, for example, if you take in consideration Uniswap, when there was the high season, and I think in one day like 2 billion transactions happened, and it didn't crash. That's something you need to take in consideration, because service with prices, right?
No, absolutely, I totally agree. And that's why sort of network effects Ethereum is having. It's very difficult to compete, right? Like with anyone coming into play, and I totally agree whatever you said.
Yeah, they need to prove themselves, let's just say, to the old one. Okay, gasless NFT, I think that is the third product you have on your project. Is this something similar as the gasless for transactions, or it's a bit different? Just if you care to explain.
Yeah, it's a bit similar, but different in a way, because with NFTs, what we have seen is like a lot of non-crypto savvy users came into the game. Like they started using these applications, and a lot of time is wasted, and also gas is wasted while minting, the NFT. Like minting the NFT takes like a lot of gas. And as a lot of brands are getting associated with it. So this is something we are doing exclusively with brands. So we did it with Dolce Gabbana, we did it with 100 Thieves, that they want to have more of their engagement happening from the users, but they want to do it in a way where it's very seamless for end users to actually claim those NFTs, and don't do anything just much beyond that. So we come with our services, and we make sure that end users don't pay anything while minting and having those NFTs, and fans are able to like associate with the brands, in a much simpler way. So that was like a bit institution grade product, focusing on brands, to engage with the customers in a better way.
This is just dragging in brands to create their own NFTs, like companies. So this is more company oriented rather than retail.
Yeah, it's more brand oriented, where we provide the tech. We don't build or make NFTs, but we make sure that all the NFT sort of transactions between users and the brands are very seamless.
And these are on all the chains you are supporting?
It's majorly on Polygon and BSC.
Mm-hmm.
On Ethereum, it's actually very expensive,
Mm-hmm.
as we already discussed why it is, but majorly on Polygon and BSC.
Yeah. You also need a chain which is not that expensive to create this and to be able to offer. But yeah, that makes sense, and I think this is a very good initiative. Okay, do you have any big announcements coming up to which the community should look out for?
I think one is I would want community, if the community likes like what we are trying to do, and one associated with Biconomy, we have this grant program where we give incentives to contributors to contribute in whatever we are trying to do. And you don't need to be just a developer to contribute. You can be like a content writer. You can be like a good community manager. You can be like good social media manager. So anyone who wants to contribute, we have this $2 million grant program where we are just giving to contributors to come and help Biconomy to grow. At the same time, there's something that we are actively working on. I cannot reveal much, but it's something we'll be announcing later this year. It's our upcoming product.
Okay, and as a veteran in crypto, what is the message you want me to forward to the community about the market state?
I think I'll be like a bit biased over there, but it's a good time for builders, I'll say, in the space because there's less noise. In bull market, a lot of things tend to work naturally. Like even if you build like a bad product, it'll work in bull market. But this is a time where all the builders should actually uh, introspect and rethink what is actually working for them and what is not, and honestly like make best utilize of the spare market from a builder standpoint. In bull market it's very difficult to be focused, but this is like time to be focused.
Yes, I totally agree with you that I think the core projects which will, let's say, I don't know, grow the most in the bull market are created and, let's say, continued in the bear market. And I think this is also true to the communities. The core communities are also built and formed in the bear market. So I'm very happy to see that, you are going forward. I would like to thank you for being here and for taking the time. I think it was a very interesting conversation, and I'm looking forward to our next one.
Thanks a lot for having me. This was fun conversation with you. Thanks a lot.
Everyone, you can find all the links to Biconomy in the description of this podcast, and thank you for listening in. Take care.